This episode is made possible by our sponsor, Omega Bright Wellness. I've taken their omega-3 supplements for many years, and so has my wife, and that's why I invited them to sponsor my podcast. I'm proud to have them. You can find all of their products online at omegabrightwellness.com, and bright is intentionally misspelled B-R-I-T-E, omegabrightwellness.com. Hello, this is Dr. Ned Hallowell for Distraction. Today I have a wonderful woman as a guest, and she sent me a most striking message on Facebook. And I never look at Facebook. I have someone else do it for me. It's too complicated for my feeble brain, but my emissary sent it on to me. And I was just very struck by it. I'm going to read you from it. And then I just thought many of you would resonate with it. And so I'm going to take a little bit of time to read this and then have a conversation with the woman, Elaine, who wrote it. So here you go. I am 55 years old, an RN for 31 years, a wife, a mother of 4 adult children. I'm now working as a school nurse after various other settings, including 13 years of hospice and several years of OB. I have stood by and watched patients take their last breath more times than I can count, but I have also stood next to women as we heard the baby's heartbeat for the first time. I've developed new ideas for hospice education, organized large events, and am currently helping 5 schools become heart-safe schools. At the same time, my principal told me yesterday that I am the number 1 worst employee when it comes to forgetting to clock in and out. She has had to correct my time card every week almost without fail. I walk into the building and already have something on my mind. Sometimes I walk into the room where the time clock is in, only to start conversing with someone and walk out without doing what I walked in there to do. I recently locked my key to the med cabinet in the padlock to the med cabinet, a task that required some skill, but I do not even remember doing it until I needed to lock the cabinet and could not. I have run out of gas or locked my keys in the car over 20 times. I have left the car running in my driveway for hours, even uptown twice, as if to say, "Sure, go ahead and steal my car. It's warmed up and unlocked." Yet here I am meeting with leaders of schools and working on a project that has never been done in my community, and that energizes me. I also have sleep issues, probable narcolepsy, sleep apnea, sleep paralysis, depression and anxiety, and hypothyroid. I just wrote a short story about a hospice patient. I have organized volunteer groups, funeral dinners, helped write songs, poems, and stories, but I came to work once with my pants inside out. At least they were on. That's my adding. I am over the moon happy to have hopefulness that I'm not just a square peg in a round hole that cannot ever feel good about herself. I'm taking ADHD meds along with narcolepsy meds, which are helping me, but the damage of feeling like crap about myself for my whole life is something that will take continued effort to overcome. When I see someone with undiagnosed ADHD, I feel like I can see it so clearly, and it hurts me to know of their struggle. Yet, until they are diagnosed, that same damage is happening when mom or dad says, "He is smart but lazy, not disciplined, isn't trying hard enough." No, I want to say, and sometimes I do. I've even been forwarding links for people to listen. I could go on, just feels good to say all this, knowing the reader will get it. By the way, I realized I have ADHD because of our son. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree. We are figuring this out together, which is a huge gift for both of us. Well, Elaine, thank you for writing that, and I'm pretty certain that a lot of listeners identify with it. Can I ask what prompted you now to write this at the age of 55?
I think that I've been kind of getting to the point where I need to just use kind of some of my life experiences to have something good come out of that versus just keeping it to myself, knowing that there's probably other people that can really relate to it. And I think I'm getting a little bit braver and not feeling like I have to be embarrassed or that I have to feel shame because I, continue to struggle with things. And I think we all do at one point or another.
It wasn't until your son got diagnosed that you realized there was a name for the way you are?
No, I don't think I really did. I don't know that I really understood that it was anything than just me feeling like I was weird or odd or forgetful or any of those things. So there was a couple times.
Did you ever also feel gifted?
I think I've always felt like I was a creative person. I started playing music when I was young, and I liked to write stories, and I liked to be creative. I don't know if I thought of myself as gifted or not. I think I was proud of the music part of it, but kind of just felt different, but not really knowing exactly what about myself was different, I guess.
But you said you felt like crap your whole life.
Yeah, I think that anytime I had anything happen to me, there was a lot of internalization. Like if there was a kid at school that was, mean or whatever, I really took those things to heart. And then again, on the other hand, I had a real sense of justice and always wanted to help other kids. If they were the underdog, I was always there. Hey, you can do this. It's okay. And kind of helping other kids. But when it came to myself, I wasn't very good at expressing how I felt when somebody maybe did something towards me, and I really internalized it. So I think it was not so much that things happened to me that were really terrible. I think it was just the way that I internalized it, and it just kind of kept building upon itself over time.
You
if
just
that
felt
makes sense.
you weren't, but it makes total sense. It happens, unfortunately, all the time when this condition is not diagnosed. I mean, if someone had told you at age 6 that you had ADHD, which is a terrible term, we can talk about that, but if someone
Absolutely.
had told you that you were in fact very gifted, it's just that your gifts needed some unwrapping, and that once they're unwrapped, you could do far more than most people, that would have changed the way you felt about yourself. As it turns out, you did do all those things that most people don't do. But you did it with still feeling like crap, like you weren't measuring up. You weren't, and who gives a bleepity bleep if you clock in? Your principal probably has nothing better to do than remind you. I mean, honest to goodness, these things that people put such a priority on, clocking in and being on time and putting things back in the right place, yeah, they matter somewhat. But what you've done is so much more important, helping people die, bringing babies into the world, coming up with a new scheme of hospice. I mean, I'm just scratching the surface, I'm sure, of what you've told me of writing stories, developing music. I mean, those are talents and qualities that can't be bought and can't be taught. And yet you were not allowed, encouraged, shown how to celebrate them, because you had your nose rubbed in these stupid little things that you couldn't do well, and you felt ashamed of that.
Yeah, and it's kind of weird because I didn't come from a family that wasn't encouraging, and I didn't come from an experience where I didn't have lots of friends and lots of people that encouraged me. In fact, kind of talking with my parents about things, I don't even really know where that all came from, because it sounds like something someone would say if they came from a home where they were expected, to get all good grades and expected to be perfect. And that's not where I came from. I think it kind of surprised them even that I'm recounting how I felt at certain times, because I don't think that I really showed it. I don't think they really knew.
No,
how
you
I was
you you
feeling.
de- you, you developed a face to put on to meet the world, but inside you were crying, you were suffering, and it's because you were so hard on yourself. It wasn't anyone else being hard on you. You were hard on
Absolutely.
you were hard on yourself. You had standards of perfectionism. And then
Absolutely.
you had a dose of what we call rejection sensitivity. So anything less than perfect, you took as a colossal failure, and you became your worst enemy. You were beating up on yourself, and what you needed was someone that you could tell this to, and so they could correct it.
Absolutely. And, it's kind of sad that it wasn't that long ago. I mean, I'm 55, but this is just recent past that there just wasn't anything out there that was happening in terms of educating families about differences in their child's learning and the way they looked at life. So it just wasn't talked about. You didn't talk about going to counseling, or we didn't even go to the medical doctor very often because we didn't have any money. So you just kind of had the message that you just go through things and you get through it. And there just wasn't anything to pull from.
Yeah. Where did
Not
you
at
grow up?
school, not at home, anything. Just in a small town in Michigan, yeah.
Uh huh.
And
Uh huh.
we moved here when when I was 9, and so even now, I would say in our small town, the resources of places where people can go if they have issues with their kids, as far as developmental or emotional, they're pretty limited. And
Yeah. Very,
the
very, very limited, I'm
socioeconomic
sure.
state, yep,
Yeah.
yep.
How did you find me?
Actually, probably about 15 years ago or so, I was looking for something to read because one of our sons was really struggling. In fact, we had inpatient hospitalization for one of our boys, and they were looking at why is this happening. He was having a lot of emotional struggles and a lot of anger and a lot of mood swings and just a lot of things going on. And so I kind of by chance found your book at Barnes and Nobles, and I picked it up. And in the usual style of someone with ADHD, I can proudly say that I have not ever read the whole book because I kind of looked through parts of it. Not good at reading, so yeah,
Did you read enough of it to see yourself in it?
I did. I did. I really paid
Why
attention
didn't
to
you do
those
some
chapters.
so why didn't you do something then?
I kind of did. I'm going to say
Ah,
my journey has been sort of sporadic. I kind of started doing a little something, and then I kind of would quit and start up something again. And so I think it started about in my mid 30s, but not really following through with it just for lack of energy, I guess, lack of time,
well,
lack of.
it's lack of direction. You say that's ADD. That's the ADD way. You meander. You go from pillar to post. You don't go in a straight line, and unless you have someone coaching you, advising you, directing you, teaching you. And you do a lot of great things along the way, but it's just, that's why I'm on such a mission to help people learn about this. So, as great as you've done, I hate the fact that you felt so bad about yourself, because in fact, you should feel the opposite. You're an angel. You're an angel to the world. You're a nurse, a mother, a wife, a giver, a creator. I mean, you're spectacular. And when I read that you felt like crap, I said, "Oh no, 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 no!" But I understand why, because you didn't understand what was going on, and there was no one there to explain it to you.
But it also had to do with the fact that there were things that happened along the way that would make anybody feel bad. I lost a job, and we lost one of our kids left home at a young age. And, we just had a lot of losses and some different things that happened. And so some of those things just reinforced that feeling, which they would for anybody, but I just think it was harder for me because I didn't understand the context that that I was taking it a lot more to heart than I would have had I not been looking at through those eyes, I guess.
And that's also typical of ADHD. We intensify emotion, or both positive and negative. We intensify it. Over the past few months, I've spoken to my friend, the founder and creator of Omega Bright Wellness, Dr. Carol Locke, about the benefits of taking Omega Bright's omega-3s, CBD, and other supplements. Here's a clip from one of those conversations. Well, I've certainly found them to be mood stabilizing. My mood is all over the place. I don't know what diagnosis I have other than ADHD, but my mood is very labile, up, down, in between, and quick to change. And I found that the omega-3s really help me with that, not only with my musculoskeletal issues, but the mood issues as well. It is a wonder drug. I mean, what can I say?
Thank you. We hear that a lot from people, particularly in the pandemic. We're hearing from customers that they're finding it essential with their mood. They're also finding the omega-3 essential in their relationships, keeping their mood stable, positive, and feeling less anxiety helps them with their family relationships. And I think anything we can do to help kids, parents, and teachers right now, because of this added stress of do they go back to the classroom, a changed classroom with partitions and masks and social distancing, or are they at home with their parents who are stressed, is such a powerful situation. I think we want to help give people tools to put in their toolbox to succeed and to feel like they're thriving and able to learn during this stress.
Distraction listeners, you can save 20% on your first order at omegabrightwellness.com with the promo code DISTRACTION. Okay, let's get back to the show. So, could you please tell me about your husband?
Oh, yeah. So we've been married for 32 years, and whether or not we both have ADHD, that we have not come to a conclusion yet, but we definitely have a lot of the same kinds of struggles. And again, it's kind of a
Elaine, I'm going to interrupt you, Elaine, because gosh, don't wait, don't delay, don't pass go. Take your husband to somebody and have both of you get diagnosed, a trial of medication, a coach, some teaching. It can really give you a whole new lease on life in a relatively short amount of time.
Yeah, I agree.
This is a good news diagnosis because you can really lay claim to a whole other way of looking at yourself, your spouse. The two of you can get along better because you'll be more in sync. You'll understand. You'll laugh more. You'll play more. I really mean it. But don't procrastinate. Set up a time, and it's. I mean, you're such a blessing in this world. You deserve to be happier, and you're right. Bad things happen to all of us. Life is loss. My old teacher used to say that to me, life is loss, and loss is just so hard. But loss also means that you care a lot, for the loss to hurt. It means you care a lot.
Definitely. And I think a lot of it has to do with nurses, and a lot of nurses that I know go through a lot of these struggles because we are not supposed to be cared for. We are supposed to care for people. We are not supposed to have
problems. Do you let anyone take care of you?
Sometimes maybe, but I'm not a very good patient. I'm much better at caregiving than I am at, receiving care. So I think that especially when you're working as a nurse full-time in hospice, you're working maybe 60 hours a week, and you might be at someone's home who has just died, and you're going through that with the family, and you're being compassionate, and you're kind of like a sponge. You're kind of taking on some of that, the grief that they're experiencing. But there's nothing set up in the healthcare system for that nurse to then get care for how she feels about that loss. In fact, you get in your car and you go to the next house and the next house and the next house. And when you do that for a long time, you just, you don't even realize how tired you are and how, how much you need to do self-care. And nurses are terrible at self-care. We're right, not good at it.
Yeah.
But we're not offered it either.
Yeah. The same for doctors, by the way. It's
absolutely. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And we don't even go to the doctor and ask them to, we don't go in and say, oh, well, I have a runny nose and I have a headache and I have a sore throat. Right. We go in already telling them what our diagnosis is and asking them if we can have a Z-Pak. So we're just not used to letting someone else do that for us.
Are you going to try to set up some support groups for nurses who, might want to receive a little nurturing?
I'm actually, I've been meeting with a friend who was a hospice nurse too, and I didn't know how much she had struggled after retirement. So, we've started to talk, and you're finding that it is a common thing for all of us, especially during, COVID and all the things that those are going through.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, well, it's a remarkable story. I'm so impressed with you. I hope you'll get my new book, ADHD 2.0, because there's a lot in there that I think would be very helpful to you.
Started on it last night.
Oh, good. Are you enjoying it?
Yeah, I am. I've gotten through a couple chapters, but I have to do it on audio because, I'm not a good reader.
Well, it's my shortest book, so the audio version doesn't leave much out. And
good.
You're a member of the largest undiagnosed group, which are adult women, and I'm glad you were able to. Now, are you getting any treatment now? Did you try medication? Did you do anything like that?
I am actually, and I don't want this to sound like a sad story because I have a happy, great life. I think I'm kind of grieving the fact that I wish I could have had that information earlier, but I'm ready to, go forward and keep on doing things to help change the world into a better place. And I hope that other people that are in my same spot, we haven't, I haven't found all the answers yet. I haven't made it exactly where I want it to be yet, but I am absolutely pushing forward and just want other people to just be hopeful that you don't, you might not have been able to have that information when you were younger, but you can start right where you are, and it's okay if you are starting at age 55, and it's not ever too late to start making your life better.
My oldest patient was 86, and with the treatment, he was able to write the book he'd wanted to write his whole life long. So you're right; it's never too late. Absolutely never too late. And but what's beautiful about your story is even though you had all these obstacles, losses, undiagnosed ADHD, you still prevailed. You still, soldiered on and did all these wonderful things. Which is also typical of ADHD. We don't give up.
I think a lot of times people with ADHD, they kind of see themselves as being weak. And I think they are some of the strongest, most resilient people out there.
Absolutely.
And I think that's one thing, kind of starting to realize that I'm not weak. I'm pretty strong. And I'm pretty...
very strong. Are you kidding, Elaine?
Pretty resilient.
You are way strong. You're Wonder Woman. My goodness, it's remarkable. Do you have any last thoughts you'd like to leave with our listeners?
I think that one of the things that I'm finding that helps me the most is that when I sit around and I'm really ruminating and I'm thinking about everything that's happened in my life since, age 7 on up, that I find if I can change my thought process and think about something that I can do for somebody else and just kind of leave that room and go into another room and just bring joy to somebody else, whether it's just a quick text or whether it's sending a card or calling somebody or just focusing on the world around you, and don't keep beating yourself up over and over again, because it's very counterproductive. It's probably the worst thing, probably the hardest thing for me is to forget about the past and move on to the future. Because it's a good one. It's a good one.
What's a good one?
Life is good,
Yeah.
And good things are happening, and it's hopeful.
And you're making a lot of those good things happen, and I hope you can let other people take care of you a little bit, Elaine.
Yeah. Anybody that wants to send me on a trip to Hawaii, that would be just fine.
If
I want to go to summer.
If anyone wanted to send you an email telling them, how much they got from listening to you today, would you? Listeners, you could, yeah.
That would be amazing. Yeah. That would be absolutely amazing. It's just really hard to talk about these kinds of things to people that maybe don't have that problem. But if somebody resonates with this at all, even if one person, it would just really make it worthwhile to let go of some of that vulnerability if it helps somebody else, for sure.
Well, if anybody listening wants to send an email to us here at Distraction, we can forward it along to Elaine, and it would mean a lot to you, wouldn't it?
It would mean a lot. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for sending me that notice in Facebook, and thank you for all you've done for this world. You're, like I said, you're one of the angels, that's for sure.
Thank you so much for calling me back, and it's just been such a validating and just joyful experience to be able to have that personal touch from you, because I know you're very busy, and it's an awesome experience. I'm never going to forget getting to do this.
Thank you, and I'm never too busy for someone like you, I'll tell you that.
Thank
all right,
you
you take
so
care.
Much.
Stay in touch. Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Well, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much to Elaine. What a wonderful, wonderful person. If you want to learn the latest about what's new in the world of ADHD, I suggest, as I suggested to Elaine, you get a copy of my new book, ADHD 2.0. It's available anywhere, from Amazon to my website, drhallowell.com, drhallowell.com, or by clicking the link in the show notes, or you can get a copy of ADHD 2.0 wherever books are sold. I should also add it's co-written with my dear friend and colleague, Dr. John Ratey, R-A-T-E-Y. Please subscribe to Distraction wherever you listen and leave us a review. And please continue to reach out to us with your comments and questions. We love getting them. Record a voice memo on your phone or write an email and send it to us at connect@distractionpodcast.com. That's the word connect @distractionpodcast.com. Distraction is created by Soundscrape Media. Our audio engineer is the amazingly talented Scott Person, and our producer is the amazingly talented Sarah Gurton. I'm the somewhat talented Dr. Ned Hallowell, and thanks so much for listening. The episode you just heard was made possible by my good friends at Omega Bright Wellness. I take their supplements every day, and that's why I invited them to sponsor my podcast. Shop online at Omega Bright, and that's BRITE wellness.com.